know the name Doug Papa?
Yes, I do. God bless Doug Papa, an honest cop.
I was elated, of course, but then as he testified, I was somewhat concerned for him, because I knew that they were probably going to crucify that man.
The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
Sometimes the truth has a price. That may be the lesson of a Virginia police officer who says, in trying to do the right thing, he ended up paying for it. Of one man who confronted truth and consequences.
From Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Truth and Consequences podcast with Doug Papa. Welcome, folks. This is episode 82 for Thursday, January 13th, 2022. On June 10th, 2021, in episode 54, I published my exclusive investigative news story titled Vegas Police Cover-Up Uncovered. Negligence Led to Kidnapping Rape of 12-year-old Girl. I follow that exclusive story up on June 25th, 2021, in episode 56, titled Sheriff Lombardo's Cover-Up of Police Incompetence That Led to Kidnapping Rape of Child, Part 2. I've had numerous requests to release those two podcast episodes into a single episode. Since I have updated information concerning those two stories, and with a little editing, I felt now would be a good time to release everything in one podcast episode. For those not familiar with those stories, bear with me for a few minutes, as what I am discussing now will become clearer when you watch the two episodes in this podcast. The suspect, Antwon Perkins, who was charged in this case, was scheduled for a trial date in December of 2021, which has since been continued for a jury trial date in the 8th Judicial District Court of Nevada on February 28, 2022 at 9:00 a.m. Sources close to Clark County Sheriff and current candidate for Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo, the head of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, have told me that Lombardo was livid when I broke this story last year, which exposed his cover-up, which Lombardo hoped would never see the light of day in a public forum. Lombardo's entire staff, to include his public information office, was told to keep the details of this cover-up from the Las Vegas media. They did a damn good job of doing just that, keeping this out of the public eye for 2 years. That is, until an independent investigative journalist, yours truly, came along. Yes, I broke these stories and many others, much to the dismay of Lombardo and his pals in the tower, but I can't take the credit for any of it, had it not been for my sources. I was also told last year that Las Vegas Metro Police Lieutenant Phil Merges conducted an audit on prior cases investigated by sexual assault detective Michael Fortunato, one of the detectives who botched this case. Allegedly, Lieutenant Merges was hoping to find an unrelated screw-up in another case investigated by Detective Fortunato. Sources said Sheriff Lombardo was protecting Fortunato because the 2019 kidnapping and rape of the 12-year-old girl is too embarrassing for the department. As a matter of fact, I was told that Detective Michael Fortunato, on another case unrelated to the instant case, once closed a case, quote, victim uncooperative / no contact from victim, on a juvenile sexual assault case. That alone doesn't sound right. That same juvenile, I was told, was later victimized again by a family member. Sources close to the office of the sheriff have said that Lombardo is hoping that Antwon Perkins takes a plea deal in lieu of a jury trial, so the details of the cover-up will not be divulged in open court, and then the entire matter will be forgotten. My comment on that? That is what I would expect from a corrupt, lying, and incompetent sheriff who, sadly, could very well be the next governor of Nevada. Lombardo may be wishing that the cover-up he orchestrated will just go away, but it will never go away for the 12-year-old girl who was kidnapped and raped in 2019. Now, here are Part 1 followed with Part 2 of my exclusive stories as they originally appeared in 2021. On my next episode, I will have breaking news on the unsolved 2016 Las Vegas Land Kaufman double homicide. Welcome to Truth and Consequences with Doug Papa, Episode 54, for Thursday, June 10th, 2021. Sheriff Joseph Lombardo, who runs the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, orchestrated a cover-up to protect the department from public embarrassment and humiliation and to prevent potential civil action after the 2019 kidnapping and rape of a 12-year-old girl that occurred because of incompetence and negligence by a supervisor and detectives in the sexual assault detail, according to Las Vegas Metro Police personnel who spoke to me. The story I'm about to tell is vile, despicable, and incomprehensible, and I'm not only describing what happened to two innocent little girls, but also the conduct of the investigating detectives and their supervisor. As a former criminal investigator, I cannot even fathom how something like this could have even happened. But it did happen, ladies and gentlemen, and because of incompetence and negligence by Sheriff Lombardo's detectives and a sergeant, a little 12-year-old girl paid the price. On May 23, 2018, an 11-year-old girl was kidnapped and raped in Las Vegas. The following year, on January 24, 2019, a 12-year-old girl was kidnapped and raped in Las Vegas. Both of these crimes were committed by Antwon Perkins. Had the police done their job correctly in May of 2018 after the first kidnapping and rape, the kidnapping and rape of the second child, the 12-year-old girl in January of 2019, would never have occurred. Before I explain how this travesty was allowed to happen, to give you some background on these two horrible crimes, watch the following two news clips. The first news story aired on 13 Action News Las Vegas in January of 2019, after the first crime. I was interviewed for that segment. The second news story aired in May of 2018 on News 3 Las Vegas. Here are the two news stories, and I will pick it up after that.
Tonight, 12 years old, kidnapped and sexually assaulted. But somehow a local girl had the guts and awareness to remember specific details about her ordeal.
And those small details are helping big time in the case against her alleged attacker. And 13 Action News anchor Yasmin Hassan is live right now and shows you the types of things that you could coach your kids to take into account, Yasmin.
Police say the 12-year-old was forced into a truck onto the floor of the passenger side. Now, even though she had a jacket covering her face, she was still able to notice details like wires right near the dashboard, the interior color of the truck, the exterior color of the truck. And police say it's that fight or flight instinct that helps save lives and catch suspects.
You do whatever you have to do. Kick, scratch, scream. You do not want to get into the vehicle.
In this case, the 12-year-old girl says she had no choice. She says Antwon Perkins grabbed her by both arms and put her in a truck. Most of the details of the kidnapping and sexual assault they're just too graphic to report. She says he even threatened to shoot her and kill her family. And even under these horrendous conditions, she was still able to tell police specific details.
Listen to the noises, not only in the car, what do you hear outside the vehicle? When the car was going, did it hit a lot of potholes? Did it feel like it was going over a bridge? Or did you hear no noise at all, which means they could be in a park or a secluded area?
She said she remembered the ride being bumpy. She also could hear a noise that sounded like texting, even able to describe Perkins, not just vague information. Yes, she said he was a black man with short black hair, but that wasn't all.
Children are a lot more aware of the way somebody looks, and they'll say he had funny skin, his skin was bumpy, or he had a beard, or he had one of those things without the beard over here. That's the way they describe it, you know, or he had one of those mustaches that just hangs down.
She told police Perkins had a beard on his chin and that he was not wearing any shoes. Even after getting out of the truck, she was still paying attention to everything. She asked the man for the time, and that's how she knew he had her for 3 hours.
You know, she did good. She gave a lot of leads to the police because that's what it's all about.
It sounds to me like she had enough self-confidence and smart thinking to make the right call. And she obviously did the right thing because she's here today.
Police believe that Perkins may be linked to another assault case. This one happened last year involving an 11-year-old. Now he is in police custody. Reporting live, Yasmin Hassan, 13 Action News, elevating Las Vegas.
This is our top story tonight. News 3's Kelsey Thomas live from Metro headquarters with a message for parents.
Emory Metro Police are calling this a horrific attack. They want this guy off the streets and behind bars. saying it is only a matter of time before he hurts someone else.
It makes my blood boil, you know what I mean? It makes me want to just go out there and find him myself, you know, beat him up with a bat.
John Valadez doesn't hold back when describing a sexual predator on the loose in his neighborhood, a man wanted by police for raping an 11-year-old girl.
This incident I want to portray was a very horrific sexual assault involving an 11-year-old female who was out looking for her siblings and was walking home alone.
Lieutenant Dave Valenta with Metro Police says the attack happened last Wednesday near Palos Verdes and East Twain on the east side of town. The suspect offered the child a ride in his black four-door BMW.
At that point, a gun was produced. A shirt was put over her head so she could not see.
The girl was eventually left naked in an alleyway surrounded by apartments, one with a surveillance camera that caught this video of the BMW.
The suspect, being described as a black male adult, was last seen wearing what's described as a tan uniform. That could be anything: maintenance, security, auto body shop.
Tonight, a reminder for parents: talk to your children about stranger danger.
Encourage them again and again and again not to get in a vehicle with anybody for any reason. These people, these predators, they will use any means to make somebody feel comfortable.
A scary thought for John Valadez as police search his neighborhood for a man accused of the unthinkable.
We don't need people like that around here, you know.
And out in that neighborhood today, we did see Metro Police driving around, officers out in the community. They did tell me they are searching for this man. They will not stop until he is caught. If you recognize the guy in that sketch that we showed you, you can call Crime Stoppers 702-385-5555. And remember, you can remain anonymous. Reporting live tonight outside Metro headquarters, Kelsey Thomas, News 3.
You just saw and heard the two news clips. Refer to the screenshots in this podcast. If you are listening to the audio portion on Spotify, Anchor, or other audio platforms, of course you will not see the screenshots. Now, let's go back in time. On May 23, 2018, an 11-year-old girl was kidnapped and raped in Las Vegas, Nevada. The following day, on May 24, 2018, the Las Vegas Metro Police released surveillance video footage of the suspect's vehicle, along with the press release describing the crime. Keep in mind that Antwon Perkins was not known to be the suspect when they released that video footage. The suspect was described as a black male adult who appeared to be 20-30 years of age. He was tall, had a slender but muscular build, was bald, and had some hair on his chin. The vehicle was a black BMW four-door sedan. The police then released a composite sketch of the suspect as described by the 11-year-old female victim. After the composite sketch was released, some of the officers of the Las Vegas Metro Police Department assigned to the Airport Bureau at McCarran International Airport were shocked. After seeing the composite sketch and the video of the suspect's vehicle, they recognized that an airport maintenance employee, Antwon Perkins, fit the suspect's description, and he also drove a similar vehicle. Airport Bureau police, thinking that they had just solved the kidnapping and rape of the 11-year-old girl, then notified the Las Vegas Metro Police Sexual Assault Detail. Sexual Assault Detail detectives responded to McCarran Airport and interviewed Antwon Perkins, who gave detectives an alibi concerning his whereabouts at the time of the kidnapping and rape. Now, listen to this closely. The alibi Perkins gave to the detectives was bogus. The detectives never did their due diligence. They believed what Perkins told them, and then the detectives told the Airport Bureau officers that Perkins was not the suspect. No further action was taken. The detectives never went back to the 11-year-old victim who gave them such a great description of her attacker that even police officers who were familiar with Perkins at the airport swore it was him from the sketch. They never went back and did a photo lineup with the girl, which is Criminal Investigations 101. They had Perkins' picture from his driver's license and another one from his airport identification. Had they gone back with the photo lineup, that little girl would have identified Antwon Perkins. There is no doubt about that, according to police personnel who talked to me. But that never happened. Had they done a photo lineup and the victim identified Perkins, that would have given the police probable cause for an affidavit for search warrant for Perkins' vehicle that most likely would have contained evidence of the crime including DNA evidence from the victim. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to give credit to the police officers at the airport. In reality, and in fact, they were entirely correct. They solved the case in May of 2018. The incompetence, the negligence on behalf of the sexual assault detail sergeant and the investigating detectives allowed Antwon Perkins, a child molester, rapist, to remain at large in the Las Vegas community to once again kidnap and rape another little girl, which Perkins did on January 24, 2019. Think about this for a minute. The police failed to do their job in May 2018 after the first kidnapping and rape of a child. The police did nothing. Not in May 2018, June 2018, July 2018, August 2018, September 2018, October 2018, November 2018, December 2018. Not a damn thing all those 7 months. Now we are into January of 2019. And on the 24th day of that month, a little 12-year-old girl walking to school was kidnapped and raped by Antwon Perkins, who was now driving a black pickup truck. Rape is such a violent crime. It's bad enough when it happens to adult females, but imagine the horror that little girl had to endure and the trauma that would be with her forever. Because those detectives and their supervisor failed to do their job back in May of 2018. The highest law enforcement officer in Clark County, Nevada, Sheriff Joe Lombardo, made sure that this travesty would never be known to the public. But now it is. If what I just described to you is not bad enough, and believe me, it is terrible beyond imagination, it makes my blood boil. To add insult to injury, what happened after the second kidnapping and rape in January of 2019 is off the charts. And once again, Sheriff Joe Lombardo made sure that the public, to include his public relations firms, also known as the Las Vegas media, would not even hear about it. What am I talking about, you ask? Listen to what I'm about to tell you, and hold on to your chair so you don't fall onto the floor. The kidnapping and rape of the 12-year-old girl occurred during the morning hours of Thursday, January 24, 2019, while the victim was walking to school. The following day, Friday, January 25, 2019, and please refer to the screenshots in this podcast, Las Vegas Metro Police released a press release stating that detectives quickly identified a person of interest in this case as 35-year-old Antwon Perkins, and that the black dually pickup was located at Perkins' place of employment. A photo of Perkins accompanies this release. Anyone with any information on the whereabouts of Antwon Perkins is urged to immediately call 911. The photo the police released with that press release was the MCCARRAN Airport identification photo of Antwon Perkins. They said that Perkins' dually pickup truck was located at his place of employment. You will hear from me shortly why his truck was at his place of employment after his arrest. On January 26, 2019, Saturday, the police issued an updated press release stating that the suspect, Antwon Perkins, had been arrested. They stated that on January 25, 2019, LVMPD detectives developed information on the whereabouts of Antwon Perkins. Detectives responded to the 2600 block of Innovation Court in North Las Vegas, where he was taken into custody with the assistance of LVMPD SWAT. Perkins was arrested for the following charges: sexual assault with child under 14, 2 counts, battery with intent to commit sexual assault, victim under 16, kidnapping of minor, 1st degree, lewdness with child under 14. Now, back in 2019, the Las Vegas media did report on the barricaded suspect incident that resulted in a full SWAT team call-out that cost tens of thousands of dollars in overtime pay and which resulted in the arrest of Antwon Perkins. What was not reported until now on my podcast is that there was another Sheriff Joe Lombardo cover-up in this case. There should never have been a barricaded incident and a SWAT team call-out to effect the arrest of Antwon Perkins. Once again, that happened because of incompetence of the sexual assault sergeant Beth Carroll, the same sergeant who had been involved in the Perkins case going back to May 2018 when they botched that investigation. Again, according to Las Vegas Metro Police personnel who spoke to me, on Thursday after the second kidnapping rape, they zeroed in on Antwon Perkins as the suspect. Perkins was already known to them because of the 2018 interview, and the MO in the second rape was similar to the first one, and Perkins fit the description of both crimes. This is what was never reported on because, like I said, Lombardo orchestrated a cover-up on this entire fiasco, starting with the botched May 2018 kidnapping rape investigation. On Thursday evening, January 24, 2019, the same day that Perkins did the rape earlier in the day, he was working at the airport. Sexual assault detail detective Sergeant Beth Carroll made telephone contact with the sergeant at the airport bureau and informed him that they were coming out to arrest Perkins. The airport bureau sergeant, who was a veteran police officer with 30 years of experience, told Sergeant Carroll that they would lure Perkins into the office under a ruse that the toilet was backed up, and then arrest him and hold him until Sergeant Carroll came out with her detectives. Sergeant Carroll said no, that she wanted to do a high-profile takedown arrest, and for the airport sergeant to stand down, not to pick up Perkins until she got to the airport with her squad. A very long story short, after Sergeant Carroll arrived, they attempted to make the arrest of Perkins. However, he saw them coming at him, jumped into a McCarran Airport maintenance vehicle, and fled the airport. They lost him. This was Thursday night, January 24, 2019. For over 24 hours, a dangerous felon, child molester, rapist, who had already attacked 2 children, was once again back in the Las Vegas community because of police incompetence. Had Sergeant Beth Carroll allowed the airport police to do what they wanted and get Perkins immediately Thursday evening, this fiasco at the airport would never have happened and Perkins would not have escaped. Lombardo could not allow this to get out into the public domain. So that's when damage control and the cover-up started, right after the second kidnapping/rape, then the botched arrest attempt at the airport. The cover-up initiated by Sheriff Lombardo through his undersheriff, who at the time was Kevin McMahill, down the chain of command from assistant sheriffs, deputy chiefs, captains, ending up with the Public Information Office. That is why all this remained secret from the public eye for over 2 years, until Truth and Consequences with Doug Papa uncovered the cover-up. I was told that the Airport Bureau cops were not only livid and furious, but brokenhearted when they found out after the second kidnapping rape that Antwon Perkins was indeed the perpetrator of the first crime back in May 2018, when they identified him to the sexual assault detail detectives. This is fact, ladies and gentlemen. The kidnapping and rape of the 12-year-old girl on January 24, 2019 should never have occurred. It was totally preventable had the police done their job and arrested Perkins back in 2018. The little 11-year-old girl who was the first victim, who was so remarkable in her description working with the sketch artist, that after Perkins was arrested in 2019, his wife told Fox 5 Las Vegas television in an interview that she recalled showing her husband about the sketch the police had put out in 2018 because she thought it resembled him. She said he replied, "That looks nothing like me." I was told that after Perkins was interviewed by detectives in 2018, he would occasionally walk by airport offices and joke, "It's not me, I didn't do it." And by the way, after Perkins was arrested in 2019, detectives went back to the first victim, and this time they did do a photo lineup with her. She picked Perkins out. What a freaking disgrace. A few more comments before closing out this episode. At some point, I was told that then South Central Area Command Captain Kelly McMahill, whose husband Kevin McMahill was Lombardo's undersheriff at the time, was so upset about the investigation that she placed a personal telephone call to sexual assault detective Brittany Tomaso, who was one of the detectives investigating the May 2018 kidnapping and rape, and berated her so bad, calling her incompetent, that Tomaso's captain later intervened. This caused some blowback and dissension within Metro because Kelly McMahill was a patrol captain and had nothing to do with the sexual assault detail. McMahill bypassed all chain of command when she contacted Detective Tomaso personally. McMahill knew that Tomaso couldn't even discuss the case with her because of the strict departmental protocols about discussing sexual assault cases and who you can talk to about it. McMahill's actions caused a lot of dissension and disharmony between Metro's Captain McMahill and within Metro itself. McMahill was out of line. Any other captain would have faced disciplinary action. Nothing happened to McMahill because her husband was the undersheriff, from what I was told. As for Sexual Assault Detail Sergeant Beth Carroll and the detectives who botched the May 2018 criminal investigation into the kidnapping and rape of the 11-year-old girl, from what I was told, nobody faced any disciplinary action. In February of 2020, Lombardo appointed Captain Kelly McMahill to the rank of Deputy Chief. He promoted her. One of the airport officers who saw the sketch of Perkins back in 2018, he had recognized the sketch as being Antwon Perkins from being at a call when he was a patrol officer and responded to Perkins' home for a domestic call. He told other airport officers that Perkins had the same car as the suspect's vehicle's description and that he knew this guy. He was one of the officers who placed the call to the sexual assault detail. Like I said earlier, the Airport Bureau cops solved this case back in May 2018. Perkins should have been arrested within days of the first kidnapping and rape. The Metro personnel who spoke to me told me that computer-aided dispatch system records, or CAD for short, will verify that sexual assault detectives responded to the airport in May 2018. The botched arrest at MCCARRAN International Airport on Thursday evening, January 24, 2019, is also documented in police records and other interdepartmental memorandums, as is the investigative files at the Sexual Assault Squad relating to the May 2018 crime. If by some chance files and documents go missing, I was told it shouldn't make any difference because dozens and dozens of Las Vegas Metro Police personnel are fully aware of the cover-up and the details of what happened in this entire, very troubling and disturbing story. Anyone who has been following my work for the past several years knows that I am not a fan of Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo. I have called Lombardo a corrupt, lying, and incompetent politician disguising himself as a cop, and have backed up with facts why I made those comments. Now, with that said, after this debacle that led to the kidnapping and rape of a 12-year-old girl because Lombardo's incompetent, negligent detectives and supervisor were responsible for that to happen, and Lombardo's subsequent cover-up of all of this only solidifies my belief that Joseph Lombardo is no doubt a corrupt piece of crap. All these cops in Lombardo's command structure, from undersheriff, assistant sheriffs, deputy chiefs, captains, and whoever else cowers and becomes complicit in these cover-ups just to protect the image of the department and a corrupt sheriff, I have no use for any of you. Lombardo announced a few weeks ago that he was running for governor for the state of Nevada next year. He will fit right in if he gets elected. Another corrupt politician. You know what's on my mind right now, folks? Thinking about the terror those little girls endured, and the last one, the 12-year-old, who was not only a victim of that piece of human garbage, but also a victim by the police.
Tonight, 12 years old, kidnapped and sexually assaulted. But somehow a local girl had the guts and awareness to remember specific details about her ordeal.
And those small details are helping big time in the case against her alleged attacker. And 13 Action News anchor Yasmin Hassan right now is live right now and shows you the types of things that you could coach your kids to take into account, Yasmin.
Police say the 12-year-old was forced into a truck onto the floor of the passenger side. Now, even though she had a jacket covering her face, she was still able to notice details like wires right near the dashboard, the interior color of the truck, the exterior color of the truck. And police say it's that fight or flight instinct that helps save lives and catch suspects.
You do whatever you have to do. Kick, scratch, scream. You do not want to get into the vehicle.
In this case, the 12-year-old girl says she had no choice. She says Antwon Perkins grabbed her by both arms and put her in a truck. Most of the details of the kidnapping and sexual assault are they're just too graphic to report. She says he even threatened to shoot her and kill her family. And even under these horrendous conditions, she was still able to tell police specific details.
Listen to the noises, not only in the car, what do you hear outside the vehicle? When the car was going, did it hit a lot of potholes? Did it feel like it was going over a bridge? Or did you hear no noise at all, which means they could be in a park or a secluded area?
She said she remembered the ride being bumpy. She also could hear a noise that sounded like texting. Even able to describe Perkins, not just vague information, Yes, she said he was a black man with short black hair, but that wasn't all.
Children are a lot more aware of the way somebody looks, and they'll say he had funny skin, his skin was bumpy, or he had a beard, or he had one of those things without the beard over here. That's the way they describe it, you know, or he had one of those mustaches that just hangs down.
She told police Perkins had a beard on his chin and that he was not wearing any shoes. Even after getting out of the truck, she was still paying attention to everything. She asked the man for the time, and that's how she knew he had her for 3 hours.
You know, she did good. She gave a lot of leads to the police because that's what it's all about.
It sounds to me like she had enough self-confidence and smart thinking to make the right call. And she obviously did the right thing because she's here today.
Police believe that Perkins may be linked to another assault case. This one happened last year involving an 11-year-old. Now he is in police custody. Reporting live, Yasmin Hassan, 13 Action News, elevating Las Vegas.
They say he kidnapped and sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl who was on her way to school.
Detectives told us the crime was so brazen they were looking into whether he had done something like it before. Today, police confirmed Perkins is linked to another sex assault.
And here is a picture of Perkins and a sketch Metro released last year. This sketch came out after an 11-year-old girl was sexually assaulted at gunpoint near Twain and Palos Verdes. Please tell us Perkins is a suspect in that case too.
And new at 3, police have released a sketch of the suspect in the kidnapping and sexual assault case of an 11-year-old girl. Take a very good look at your screen right now. Metro says the man picked up the girl near Twain and Swenson last Wednesday afternoon. She was walking along when he offered her a ride in a black BMW. Police released surveillance video of that car last week. They say that the victim got into the car and the suspect assaulted her at gunpoint.
A man wanted by police for raping an 11-year-old girl.
This incident I want to portray was a very horrific sexual assault involving an 11-year-old female who was out looking for her siblings and was walking home alone.
Lieutenant Dave Valenta with Metro Police says the attack happened last Wednesday near Palos Verdes and East Twain on the east side of town. The suspect offered the child a ride in his black four-door BMW.
At that point, a gun was produced. Shirt was put over her head so she could not see.
The girl was eventually left naked. And
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. From Las Vegas, Nevada, this is episode 56 of Truth and Consequences with Doug Papa, where the truth cannot be silenced, for Friday, June 25th, 2021. This episode is part 2 of an exclusive story I first broke on June 10th in episode 54. I would suggest you listen to episode 54 for further information in reference to what I will be discussing this morning in this episode. To summarize the events, on May 23, 2018, an 11-year-old girl was kidnapped and raped in Las Vegas. The following year, on January 24, 2018, a 12-year-old girl was kidnapped and raped in Las Vegas. Antwon Donnell Perkins was arrested on January 24, 2019, and subsequently indicted for those crimes on February 28, 2019. A jury trial is set for Perkins on September 20th, 2021. As I stated in episode 54, when I broke the story, according to Las Vegas Metro Police personnel who spoke exclusively to me, Clark County Sheriff Joseph Lombardo, who runs the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, orchestrated a cover-up to protect himself and the department from public embarrassment and humiliation, and to prevent potential civil action by the parents of the 12-year-old girl, who was kidnapped and raped because of incompetence and negligence by a supervisor and detectives in the sexual assault detail. I was told that had police done their job correctly in May of 2018, after the first kidnapping and rape, the kidnapping and rape of the second child, the 12-year-old girl, in January of 2019, would never have occurred. The highest law enforcement officer in Clark County, Nevada, Sheriff Joseph Lombardo, made sure that this travesty of justice would never be known to the public, including the botched arrest and the escape of Antwon Perkins at MCCARRAN International Airport on the evening of January 24th, 2019. Again, please review episode 54 for more details. Now, here is further information that was not revealed in episode 54. As I stated in episode 54, Las Vegas Metro police officers who were assigned to the Airport Bureau at McCarran International Airport solved the 2018 rape of the 11-year-old girl after viewing a sketch of the suspect when they identified Antwon Perkins as a maintenance man who worked at the airport and drove a similar vehicle, a black BMW, that was used in the 2018 kidnapping and rape, and then they notified the sexual assault detail. According to police personnel who spoke to me, 2 of the airport police officers who notified the sexual assault detail after the first rape in May 2018 were Sergeant Michael Laudermeter and police officer Aaron Fink. Aaron Fink, from what I was told, tracked down the event number from a domestic violence call that he had handled with Antwon Perkins before being assigned to the Airport Bureau. Officer Fink went above and beyond, tracked down the event number to the domestic violence call, and then retrieved his body camera footage from his interaction with Perkins during the call, which I was told included video of Perkins' black BMW that was captured on the body camera footage. Then he was telling people at the airport, "This is the guy." They had the body camera footage of Perkins that fit his description from the sketch and his black BMW captured on body camera footage. Aaron Fink told the detectives that he had Perkins on the camera footage, in his car, and that he was the suspect identified in the sketch that was obtained by the 11-year-old victim. In lieu of just throwing a suspect's name out to the detectives, Aaron Fink, ladies and gentlemen, went further and obtained the body camera footage prior to notifying the detectives, just to be sure and to confirm. Sergeant Michael Laudermeter, from what I was told, documented Perkins' vehicle and said, "This is the car. I see this guy getting out of this black BMW at the airport employee parking lot every day." One of the sexual assault detail detectives who went to the airport and interviewed Antwon Perkins has been identified to me as Detective Michael Fortunato. From what I was told, Fortunato was making comments that he was upset about handling the case because he had something else to do and thought he was doing another detective's work. What alibi Antwon Perkins provided to the detectives is unknown to me. What I was told is that the sexual assault detectives left the airport without taking any further action. They just blew it off. They shit-canned it, did nothing with it, I was told. And the detectives then informed the Airport Bureau Police that the suspect in the sketch was not Antwon Perkins, much to the dismay of the Airport Bureau Police. They did not conduct a photo lineup with the victim, who described her attacker that led to the suspect's sketch. The detectives could have asked Perkins for consent to search his vehicle. They didn't even do that. A swab would have identified the girl's DNA inside the vehicle, which was parked inside the employee parking area at McCarran International Airport. What was there to lose by asking? Like I stated in episode 54, the sexual assault detail never followed up, did nothing for 7 months. And then in January of 2019, the second victim of Perkins, the 12-year-old girl walking to school, was kidnapped and raped. Now, let's examine the inaction of Sexual Assault Detail Sergeant Beth Carroll. She was no less at fault. It was her responsibility to vet and verify everything, especially since it was a high-profile case. She clearly did not do that. Ultimately, it was Sergeant Carroll's failure. Sergeant Carroll did not do due diligence. As the sergeant in the sexual assault detail, it was her job to oversee every step of the investigation. This was a high-profile case, and they were getting a lot of pressure, which is amazing they did nothing with the information they received from the airport police. The sexual assault detail was getting tremendous pressure on the kidnapping and rape of the 11-year-old girl, and they completely blew off the information that was provided to them by their colleagues at the Airport Bureau. They actually had a lead on a high-profile case, and it went nowhere. Sergeant Carroll didn't follow up on anything, never asked the detectives if they did a photo lineup with the victim, nothing. It was such a high-profile case, like I said in episode 54, that then Captain Kelly McMahill called Detective Brittany Tommaso and berated her. And Tommaso wasn't even one of the detectives who had gone out to the airport to interview Perkins. She was the recipient of what the detectives who went out to the airport and interviewed Perkins told her. It's the sergeant's job to think outside the box. What did we miss the first time around? And all through this time, had the guy's name and information. Has anybody checked his alibi? Maybe we should go back and recheck his alibi. The Airport Bureau cops, from what I heard, were furious and saddened in January of 2019 when they found out that they had identified the suspect and had the case solved in May of 2018, and their colleagues did nothing with the information they provided, and it led to the kidnapping and rape of another little girl. And Sheriff Joseph Lombardo's answer to the botched investigation and the botched arrest of Antwon Perkins was to orchestrate a cover-up to protect himself and his department, and in effect, he couldn't care less about the second victim in 2019. Maybe Lombardo is directing another cover-up to cover up the cover-up. My hat goes off to the Airport Bureau cops for a job well done, including now retired Sergeant Jimmy Oakes, who wanted to pick up Antwon Perkins immediately at the airport on January 24th, 2019, but was told to stand down by Sergeant Beth Carroll. And we know how that turned out. An honorable mention goes out to Lieutenant Dave Valenta, who I understand wanted heads to roll after it was discovered that the detectives and their sergeant had royally screwed up, in the least. I was told Lieutenant Valenta, who has the reputation of being a straight arrow, was ordered to stand down and take no action, and that came directly from the office of Sheriff Lombardo when he directed the cover-up. By the way, Detective Michael Fortunato, back in October 2015, he came under scrutiny during the trial of Brian Goins, a former massage therapist who was facing life in prison for sexual assault, but the charges were reduced because Fortunato testified that no crime was committed. You can research that case online. Remember to subscribe to Truth and Consequences with Doug Papa on YouTube and Facebook. Audio podcasts of all my episodes are available on Anchor, Spotify, and other platforms. Future episodes will expose more of Sheriff Joseph Lombardo's cover-ups and lies, the botched investigation into the unsolved 2016 Land Kaufman double homicide, and much more. That's it for this episode, folks. Have a nice day.